Scottie Kimmelman here with the National Sports Media Association, and today I am joined with the 2023 Indiana Sportscaster of the Year and from ISC Sports Network, Greg Rakestraw. Greg, how are you?
I'm doing great, Scotty. Thanks for having me today.
Great, of course. Thanks for joining. And first and foremost, before we get into your time covering Indiana sports, I want to ask what exactly got you into sportscasting?
The joke that I tell people is that I knew at the age of 5 I was not going to be a good enough athlete to be a professional athlete, and so being the guy that announced the games on TV was going to be the route for me. I don't know. I just kind of gravitated to sports at a young age, and I gravitated towards the announcers at a young age. So I
Hmm.
was very lucky. Career fairs didn't do much for me when I was in high school. I knew exactly this is what I want to be. I want to be a broadcaster, and I probably thought I was going to be more of like the local television sportscaster growing up and just kind of showed that I had this skill for play by play and kind of went that route instead.
Hmm.
And I get paid to go to ball games for a living. And that's a pretty cool gig if you can have it.
There you go. Love it. And now I want to get into the award that you got from the NSMA. This is your first award from us for your work in Indiana sportscasting. So I got to ask, how does it feel to be thought of so highly by your peers?
I'm truly honored, and again, somewhat slack jawed about it. I've been fortunate enough to win a couple of awards for more locally driven organizations, but not from a national perspective. And the person that has won this award so many times that nobody, even him, can keep count is Don Fisher. Who has been the voice of the Indiana Hoosiers really for the better part of the last 50 years. And anything that is as cool as the award is the fact that Fish texted me the day that this got announced and offered his congratulations because he's kind of the gold standard
Oh
in
yeah.
terms of play-by-play guys and broadcasters in this state. So again, I'm my reward is getting to do what I love each and every day. But at the same time, I think you hit on the key word or phrase. When you're honored by your peers, when other people that are in this profession say, "Hey, we think you're the best in this state at this," I'm flabbergasted, I'm honored, and it absolutely means the world to me.
Hmm. That's awesome. Love it. And being a broadcaster in Central Indiana for nearly 20 years now, I mean, you attended the University of Indianapolis, you grew up in Indiana, went to high school there. What does it mean for you to cover all kinds of sports in your home state? What does it mean for you?
Well, I'm fortunate in that I get to do a variety of things. And one of my favorite quotes is that necessity is the mother of invention. And so you kind of learn some things. And I was in a job about 15 years ago where we said, "Hey, we're going to bring in this guy for our marquee events. You're doing everything else. So learn it." And so, like, for the example, I started doing some high school soccer and some college soccer.
Yeah.
Well, fast forward about 3 years from that point in time, all of a sudden a professional team comes to Indianapolis and I'm the guy in the market that has soccer experience. And now I'm getting ready for my fittingly 11th year as the voice of the Indy 11. And I played 3 sports growing up in high school. I'm from a small town. We didn't have a soccer team back then. So I'm a professional soccer announcer, having never actually played the sport. And I'm also lucky enough that part of what I do is with the Indiana High School Athletic Association. And so I get to do a variety of different state championships. So, like, for example, this year I'm a part of the soccer, volleyball, football, wrestling, basketball, baseball, and softball state championships. And a lot of those are kind of, derivative of one another. But because I've done this now for so many years, I love the variety of my job. I always get asked, "Hey, what's your favorite sport to call?" And because I'm from Indiana, I just kind of default and say basketball. But I really think that part of the reason why I've done this for as long as I have is the variety of things I get to do. I don't get burned out doing the same thing over and over again. My days are a little bit different. I had a stretch in November. I think I called 6 different sports in 7 days and absolutely loved it. So it's if variety is the spice of life, I'm leading as spicy of a life as a broadcaster can lead. Let's put it that way.
That's awesome. And I got to ask, 'cause since you do all these different sports, and I know you love it, you brings different, new perspectives into your day. But I got to ask, as a broadcaster, how does that strengthen your skills? Maybe starting out young and developing over the years. How does covering different sports increase your skills as a broadcaster?
I think it just makes you more well rounded. Just like you would say, hey, playing multiple sports as a high school athlete makes you a better athlete. You prevent some of those wear and tear injuries. If you're a football player, you run track and field, you're a wrestler, whatever the case may be, same thing. And so I think if you know the lingo or the lexicon of the sport, being a play-by-play guy, those skill sets translate, from one to another. So you just have to know how to say the proper things for the proper sport. And I'm sure there are things that I bring to soccer, and I probably do less of this now than I did 8 or 9 years ago, but I think it actually is what appealed not to my play-by-play style, but I was part of a young team that was trying to grow the sport, in a community, a sizable one like Indianapolis. So I would bring things like I would say, almost like you'd say in football or baseball. And while that maybe didn't make the soccer purists happy, the average person that wasn't a big soccer fan goes, okay, yeah, now I get that. Now I understand as to why you go about doing those things. So part of it is just kind of finding where your opportunity is. But again, play-by-play skills translate. You just got to know, again, how to phrase things properly for each individual sport.
Gotcha. Great. And going off your time at the University of Indianapolis, we touched on it a little bit earlier, but I want to ask, that's an early start of your career. And I really want to ask, was there a specific moment that you remember as a young broadcaster, maybe at the University of Indianapolis, for example, where you thought, wow, I really made it as a broadcaster in the state of Indiana?
Nothing from a university standpoint, but the most important thing was twofold about being at UIndy.
Mm,
One, we worked in a radio environment that was very much treated like a professional station.
mm,
We had a 30,000-watt signal, and we did play-by-play for a variety of things, but we also played jazz and classical music, and so this was not the hit and giggle, so to speak, of college radio. This was a serious professional environment, and that trained me at a very young age to not to take myself too seriously, but to take it seriously every time I crack a microphone. And so that's one thing. But two, one of the biggest advantages I had in attending UIndy was the fact of being in the city of Indianapolis.
mm.
So, like, for example, by the end of my sophomore year, I was working part-time at what is the Heritage Sports Talk radio station in Indianapolis in WNDE. I got hired full-time to board up Jim Rome's show and produce the afternoon drive show a month before I graduated college. I never had to do the small town radio or television thing and work my way back to the big market. And so there wasn't really like an aha moment during, the course of being in college, but it was just the environment in which I was in and the market in which I was in, which is why I was able to kind of hit the ground running and be doing this for an avocation at the age of 21.
There you go. That's awesome. And lastly, I want to ask, you've been covering your state for so long, and it really must be a dream come true to cover, all the different sports in your home state. I really want to ask if there's any advice you would give to an aspiring broadcaster, such as myself, countless others my age in the industry. What would you tell them?
Don't say no. Find a way to say yes. And I tell this to people, this is not like if you're in college and you're in some sort of, chem lab where the professor says, hey, turn to your right, turn to your left. Now, one of you will not be here at the end of the semester. We don't have to have that in our field. Life is our weed out class because you don't make great money at the start. You may not be a full-time employee at the start. But at the same time, there is great opportunities and pretty good money to be made. If you're willing to put in the time and keep your nose to the grindstone, and if you've got talent, those opportunities will show themselves to you. So be willing to do things that are outside of your comfort zone. You just might figure out, hey, I'm pretty good at this, or you'll learn things that you can apply to that next position. So just keep battling. And one of my other favorite quotes is an old Ben Hogan quote about, how do you have the perfect golf swing? And he goes, the secret's in the dirt. In other words, keep swinging, keep taking reps, keep finding things in which you can broadcast to perfectly hone your craft.
Awesome. Love it. All right. Well, that's all I got. Thanks again. And congratulations on your award.
I appreciate it, buddy.
All right. Have a good one.
You too. Take care.
All right. Bye.